This is Steve Schiffman, and thank you for joining me on this podcast webcast that we put out to help you make more sales. I want to debunk a myth that many salespeople have or are given by people when they're first hired in sales. I remember when I started, people said to me, managers, people interviewed you, said, as a salesperson, you can make as much money as you want. It's up to you. You could make $1 billion a year because there's no cap, there's no limit on the amount of money that we're going to allow you to make. Oh, all you've got to do is sell. Just keep selling and you'll make that money. You'll make that, whatever the commission is, doesn't matter whether it's 2%, 5%, 100%. You can make $1 billion. Well, not 100%, but you can make $1 billion. And I quickly found out that that was not true. That there's a limit to the amount of money a salesperson in any industry can make. Just like there's a limit on the amount of money a doctor can make or a dentist can make. Now, of course, that doesn't make any sense, but if you think about it, it does. A doctor makes a certain amount of money, whether they're in private practice or not, per patient. Well, how many patients can they see in a given day, given week, given year? It can't be 365 days of pure work of 24 hours a day. They can't do that. That's not going to happen. So therefore, there's a limit to the amount of money they can make or the amount of patients they can see. They can't see people every single hour of every single day for a year or 2 years or 5 years. In fact, what I used to teach people, salespeople, was if you looked at it carefully, you could predict the income of a doctor or a dentist by simply looking at the appointment book. If they had 20 patients next week, they were going to make 20 times whatever they charge. No, every once in a while there was a spike because they had a big procedure or something else, whatever. But the reality is there's just so many people they could see. So how does that apply to you? As a salesperson, there's only a certain number of people that you can meet with. Now, you can tell me that in the high-tech world of sales today, you can call people on the phone and have great conversations. You can do Skype, or in this case, Zoom that I use. You can use anything to meet more people. And I agree with that. But how many of those can you do? Because after all, an appointment takes a certain amount of time. In my case, an appointment takes me 1 hour, 60 minutes. I can almost time that. I walk in to see somebody. I know probably an hour I'm going to be walking out. Now, I've got to get in the car and drive to the next place. And of course, everybody tells me it's 5 minutes away. Well, it's not 5 minutes away. To just get out of the parking lot in many places, it's 20 minutes just to get out of the parking lot, figure out where you are. It's 20 minutes, and then you're on the road. So the timing becomes important. Time becomes important. But this is the strategic mistake. You don't know where your time really goes. You got to have lunch, I would assume. You got to take a break. You got to get out and get coffee from Starbucks. You got to do something. So what happens is you don't really know where your time goes. You think you do because you've got your appointment calendar or you use Outlook or whatever you use. I don't really care. But you really don't know where your time goes. Well, I'm going to give you something about that. Now, remember, first of all, just remember, if you want to have a chance to get a new book, brand new book, that I send to you for free, you've got to send me an email, sschiffman@steveschiffman.com. Go on the website, link in with me on LinkedIn, go to Facebook, I don't care how you do it, find me, and send me this word or 2 words, root beer. I love root beer. So send it to me, root beer. Just write root beer on your email or call me and say root beer. Make sure, though, you give me your name and your address to send the book. And I will send you a free, hear that word, free book. No cost, no nothing. I handle it for you. Okay? And don't forget, in August, I'll be with Tony Robbins, Edison, New Jersey. And if you're interested in real coaching, not a lot of nonsense stuff. It's just like this podcast. I refuse to have other people on it because they just talk about themselves. They just give you, this is what I did. Meanwhile, you can't relate to that because it's not you. And half the time, the speakers never sell or ever really sell. Okay, go back to what I said. In order for you to figure out your time, it isn't planning. Everybody tells you that. Oh, I got to plan it. Yes, I want you to plan out what you're going to do for the week. You need to know. But here's the key. Knowing what you've done, not what you're going to do. In other words, you need to know what it is you're doing, right? You got to have that. But what really happened, you got to have that. And you can only have that by working backwards. In other words, I carry two different books. One is, in fact, the schedule for the week. And I have it on Outlook, and I print it out, and I say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. But the other thing I do is write down what I've done each day. Now, if you've ever dieted in your life, you went to Weight Watchers or whatever, what they do is tell you, write down everything you've eaten. They tell you that. And it works. It actually does work. The point is, you don't write down where you've really been, how long it took you to drive, when you took a break, how long was lunch. You don't write that down. So therefore, you really don't know what you did last week. You don't know that. You know what you said you were going to do, but you don't know what you did. For example, how long does it take you to make 10 telephone calls a day or whatever number you work with? How long does it take you to understand where your day went? Because it goes pretty fast. How long does it take you to make the calls to get the appointments? And how many appointments do you get out of those calls? See, people say to me, well, I make 100 calls a day. Yeah, that's great. But that means you didn't go on anything. Because I can tell you that. You know that. If you tell me you made 100 telephone calls in a day, the odds are you were not out. It was raining. I don't want you to do that. I want you to start tracking what your day was like. Where you were on Tuesday, where you were, not where you're going to be, but where you were, which means if you're doing Tuesday, on Wednesday you're writing it down, or Tuesday as the day proceeds. That's what I do. I write down everything I've done. I go, okay, 9 o'clock I started this, 10 o'clock I did this, 11:30 I did this, 30 minutes of this. I got a drink, have some iced tea, so that took me 40 minutes to get that. I mean, I want you to think about that. Think about where time goes. It's going all the time. Like that pun, it's going all the time. And every time you stop and you go into a restaurant and you want to get something to drink, it's going to be 30, 40 minutes. It has to be. Because you're not going to gulp it down. And you're driving, you're not going to gulp it down. In fact, most salespeople really don't manage their time well. Now, I'm not big into time management. I'm going to give you next time some tips that you can actually use to help you. But this is the biggest tip. The biggest tip is you write down what you've done, not what you're going to do. I know what you think you're going to do. Write down what you really, and then you'll start to see how much time it really takes you to get from place to place to place. I had somebody the other day, I do the coaching, and you can always join me on a coaching session. It's reasonable. It's Zoom, so it's like this. It's easy to work with. And you like it. I think you really like it. I enjoy it. But the point is, the coaching sessions, what I say to people is, what did you do last week? Well, first thing they tell you, I made 387 calls last week. That sounds pretty good. So you're using a robo-dial? Oh, yeah, blah, 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 it keeps coming. I got it. So what else did you do? Well, that's about it. Did you get any appointments? Yeah, I got 2. Well, that's all he can do. He's not going to suddenly increase that number to 5,000 calls in a week. And that limits you. That's why I'm talking about your limit in terms of your income. You can only see so many people in a week or speak to them. You can only make so many sales a week, that is developing a proposal and submitting it, and they say, okay. And there's a limit to the amount of money you can charge. Therefore, putting those 3 items together, kind of like algebra, this equals this equals this equals X, you can only make so much money a year. See, you're limited. You're limited in the amount of money you make each year simply because of time. Okay, my 10 minutes are up, I promise you. No crap, no stuff, it's direct. It's direct as I can be. because I want you to get something out of this. I don't want you to have or listen to some interview with some guy who tells you in theory you're going to make $1 billion. I'm not for that. I just won't do it to you. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to tell you can make $1 billion because you can't. But I want you to maximize your income, and I want you to know where your money comes from. How many sales? How many people? How much time does it take? Come see me again. I'll be back. This is Steve Schiffman. I want to thank you for coming, and as always, your attendance humbles me.